November 20th, 1820. The South Pacific, 2,000 miles from the nearest coast, far from any shipping lane or rescue route. The whale ship Essex is hunting sperm whales, working a patch of open water the crew has circled for days. Then the lookout spots one, unusually large, floating still on the surface, not diving, not fleeing. It watches the ship. For a long moment nothing moves. Then it turns and swims straight at the hull, gathering speed with each length. The crew has no time to change course. The first blow staves in the bow, timbers splitting below the waterline. Water begins pouring in almost at once. The crew barely has time to react before the whale circles back, slow and deliberate, lining up for another pass. No one on deck has ever seen a whale behave this way. If cases like this pull you in, the channel adds a new one every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Before the whale circles back, it rams the ship a second time, head-on with full force. Within minutes the Essex is taking on water fast. 20 men scramble into 3 small whaleboats with what supplies they can grab. By the time they look back, the ship is capsizing. Nothing in their training prepared them for this. A whale had never attacked a ship on purpose before. First mate Owen Chase watches the wreck sink and starts keeping a written account, because he suspects no one will believe them otherwise. The nearest land they know of is the Marquesas Islands, but rumors of cannibals there terrify the crew more than starvation does. So they make a fatal choice. They point the boats towards South America instead, 3,000 miles away, far longer than the food will last. Within a week, rationing begins. Within a month, the biscuit is nearly gone and the water barrels are brackish. By December, men are dying of exposure and thirst, one by one. The survivors do something they never planned for. They eat the bodies of their crewmates to stay alive. It keeps them moving, but it does not solve the math. The boats drift apart in a storm, each captain now alone with a dying crew. On one boat, the food runs out completely. The remaining men draw lots to decide who dies next, so that the others might live. A teenage cabin boy loses the draw. His own cousin is forced to shoot him. What happens next stays out of official reports for years, because no one wants it on record. By February 1821, 3 months after the sinking, a ship called the Dauphin spots something strange on the horizon. It is Owen Chase's boat, barely afloat, carrying 2 skeletal survivors sucking marrow from bones they no longer try to hide. Days later, another ship, the Indian, finds the captain's boat in the same condition. Of the 20 men who left the Essex, only 8 survive. Chase publishes his account within the year, and it becomes required reading in whaling towns up and down the coast. 2 decades later, a young sailor named Herman Melville hears the story secondhand and cannot stop thinking about it. He tracks down Chase's own son, borrows a copy of the narrative, and carries it with him for years. What he writes next borrows the whale, the obsession, the wreck, but changes the ending. In his version, the captain does not survive. In real life, Owen Chase does, and spends the rest of his years haunted by what kept him alive. He hoards food obsessively until he dies, unable to trust that a meal will not be his last. Meanwhile, scientists who study the wreck site centuries later find something the survivors never knew. Sperm whales that size can weigh over 40 tons, more than the ship itself, more than enough mass to shatter a hull without meaning to. But witnesses on all 3 boats agreed on one detail investigators could never explain away. The whale did not strike once and flee. It turned, aimed, and came back. Whether that was intent or instinct, no one who studies whale behavior today can say for certain. What is certain is smaller and stranger. A whale that size, in that patch of open ocean, had almost no reason to be there at all, and even less reason to notice a ship as anything other than driftwood. Some researchers now believe the animal may have mistaken the Essex's hull thuds for the sound of a rival male, a sound whalers themselves had been making for years by banging on boats to scare prey into position. If that theory holds, the men of the Essex were sunk by an echo of their own hunting method, thrown back at them by an animal none of them fully understood. The Essex still rests on the Pacific floor. No expedition has ever recovered it. If cases like this pull you in, the channel adds a new one every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.